Welcome to the another edition of Maritime Gateway's Digital Dialogue. Today we have a guest with us, Mr. Ankur Parwani, who is the Director South for ESR India. Ankur has been in the real estate industry for over a decade and come with a plethora of experience in the real estate domain relating to modern infrastructure and the evolution of smart spaces. In his previous experience at CBRE, Ankur was awarded the prestigious Asia Pacific Performer of the Year, the youngest recipient of this award, and is a name to reckon with in the industrial leasing space. Currently at ESR India, Ankur manages leasing and acquisition in the southern region. ESR is a leading APAC-focused integrated logistics real estate platform. It has presence in several countries, including South Korea, Australia, Singapore. Ankur is with us today to talk about ESR India projects, industrial parks, infrastructure in the country, and future opportunities. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ramzat. It's my pleasure as well.
Ankur, let me begin by asking you, can you give us a brief overview of what ESR India does in India?
ESR started in India in the year 2017, and in a span of 4 years, we are today present in 9 cities. With a portfolio of about close to about 18 million square feet, and we have 15 sites across these 9 cities. We have more than 700 acres of land, which we have acquired, and part of joint ventures which we have done over the course of the last 4 years. Our idea when we entered India was to bring in our expertise from the APAC market and create, a grade A industrial and logistics parks, which we have done outside of India as well. So we have certain infrastructure standards which we do with globally. So we are just bringing those international standards of our parks within India right now.
Can you define me what exactly is the logistics real estate platform when you say? Is it a physical infrastructure that you are talking about?
Oh, yes. So basically, the primary business is we buy land and we develop large industrial and logistics parks. We build them and we lease it out to various of tenants. During this course, we create infrastructure for these large parks.
So essentially, you build it and you own the space and lease out.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So currently, you have a couple of projects, one with the Gujarat Industrial Corporation, and also I think recently you have announced one project in Tamil Nadu. Can you elaborate these projects?
Sure. Very recently, we signed up a MOU with the government of Tamil Nadu, where we already have a project in Chennai in Oragadam, which is an 80-acre park with a development potential of 1.9 million square feet, of which we've already built our first speculative building and we've already leased it to one of our clients. Apart from this, more parks in the state of Tamil Nadu, for which we've signed up with the government very recently. One would come up in the Kanchipuram district, which would be about a 40-45 acre park. And the second project would be in the Krishnagiri district, which would be about an 80 to 100 acre park. Now, we've identified the lands in both these locations. And very soon we should be concluding the land transactions in these locations and then proceeding ahead. Total investments for these 2 new projects should be in the tune of about 550 crores in the state of Tamil Nadu. Coming to your second question, where you spoke about GIC, which is one of our capital investors with whom we tied up. So we've come up with a joint venture with GIC, which is the Singapore government sovereign fund. So we've come up with a joint venture platform where we've invested $750 million meant to create A-grade industrial logistics space for India. So that's the platform with GIC, which is completely separate, where we have the investments coming in, and that's how we're deploying it in the country.
I know logistics is currently a very hot vertical in India. But can you tell me the journey last 2 years with the global pandemic and a lot of manufacturing activity getting slowed down? How was the journey last 2 years, and what do you foresee in the next few years?
So I would divide the 2 years into 1 year each, right? So the first year of the pandemic was obviously all of us were very surprised. We were taken by shock because suddenly you're locked down in your houses. What do you do? So the first year, honestly, we didn't see much of manufacturing demand coming in because everything was at a standstill. And all of us as common people, everything started going online, right? Right from your kids' school or buying a book to a small pen, everything went up online. And that's how the entire demand, when it moved online, the e-commerce guys, were the only guys who were showing resilience in this entire pandemic era, the first lockdown, or rather, I would say the 2020 time. Now, that's how the demand for e-commerce was always up. So 2020 was a year where we saw a lot of demand coming in from the e-commerce side. Now, in the second lockdown, I think people were kind of more prepared, or rather, the manufacturing companies were more prepared. So, in that sense, in the second lockdown or in 2021, I would say the demand for manufacturing has come up, specific to a few sectors like pharmaceuticals. Given the vaccine push and all of that, so we've had a good demand coming up from pharma. Renewable energy is picking up in India, FMCG, and engineering companies. So we're seeing good amount of demand coming in right now from the manufacturing companies as well, with a good balance from the e-commerce and the 3PL guys. This is what we've seen. Now, in the pandemic, obviously we've had impact. We being the developers, we've seen a good amount of impact coming into us in terms of the steel and cement prices going up. So the steel prices have gone up from about 36 to 40% broadly year on year in cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, etc. So that has obviously been a big impact to us with the costs really going up. And the other part is in the pandemic, you would have seen a lot of people going back to their original hometowns. A lot of laborers migrated back. I mean, they had migrated to various cities. They went back to their hometowns. So, the availability of labor was a big challenge. That was another challenge, which I think we're still dealing with. There are still quite a few people who are still in their houses. They do not want to really go back. So that is a challenge which is still there. Given these two challenges and the thin margins with which we operate, the good thing is there is good amount of demand coming in from both manufacturing and the e-commerce and 3PL guys. So the next 2 years, I anticipate a good demand coming in from the manufacturing guys. I think India is really growing as a country. And with the government push of various incentive schemes, which the government is giving to manufacturing companies today, a lot of the companies are looking to invest in India and manufacture in India. So from that angle, I think good amount of manufacturing is going to happen, which includes pharma, renewable energy, automobiles, engineering. All of these sectors, I think, are going to have good amount of demand coming in. And I think e-commerce and 3PL will continue to grow like they've done in the last 2 years.
When you talk about demand, have you any analysis of the geographical segmentation, like which part of India or maybe which states are showing more promising locations for you to move on?
So geographically, from a manufacturing point of view, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and Gujarat. These are the three markets which kind of dominate the manufacturing requirements. So, for example, Chennai is known as the Detroit of India, with a lot of automobile, and recently renewable energy, electronics coming into Tamil Nadu. Where you would see Ola's factory coming up in Krishnagiri. Tata's factory for the iPhone manufacturer coming up in the same Krishnagiri district. So, a lot of electric mobility coming up. That's one in Tamil Nadu. And then Maharashtra again, with Pune being, one of the most largest automobile hubs, housing big automobile brands. So again, that continues to remain a big industrial location. And third is Gujarat, which is also coming up in a big way in the manufacturing space. And interestingly, all these three locations, or all these three geographical locations, have good connectivity to the port as well. So, that's another significant thing which many manufacturing companies look at in terms of the import, export, all of that. So these three locations is where we would look at from a manufacturing point of view. Now, from the e-com point of view, we're seeing good amount of demand coming in across the country. So, we've seen demand coming in from Bangalore, Hyderabad, up north towards Gurgaon, and then Kolkata. So all the regions from an e-com point of view, because they need to cover the entire country. So from an e-com 3PL point of view, it's those cities, and from manufacturing, it's Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and Gujarat.
When you design these industrial parks, how do you plan? How do you design? Are they industry specific or vertical specific? Because each vertical might have their own specifications or requirements. And today, warehousing is not just the kind of sheds that were being built in the previous era. So, can you give me an insight into these?
Sure. So, previously we used to not call them warehouses as such. We used to call them godowns, so we've kind of moved on from that era of a godown and really moved into a modern warehouse today. When we develop a park, as I said, we have certain international standards in the APAC region. We are bringing in those international standards into the country. Again, it is location specific, and as you mentioned, it could be product specific as well. So for a market like Chennai, I might do a building which is having a clear height of 10 meters, because here I would anticipate a demand coming in from the manufacturing or assembly guys. However, in a market like Bangalore, or Hyderabad, I would do a building with a clear height of 12 meters, because that's going to be dominated by the e-com or the 3PL guys, and they would need more height to stack up vertically. So it depends on the location. I mean, depends on the sector and targeting as well. That's on the building, otherwise our standard specs would remain more or less the same, but the height of the building is something which could vary. Our road sizes is something which we plan, right, when we buy the land. How would the road sizes be, the docking apron sizes? So all of that is something we pre-plan before we buy a land, and that's how we plan the entire industrial logistics space.
In terms of timeline, what is the project life cycle like? The moment you from the drawing board making the facility operational, how does it
well, India, acquiring land is a very, very challenging task, but let's say from the day you acquire the land, for you to deliver the first building would take you about, I would say about 12 months, given we need to take approvals and all of that. So I would say about 12 months to deliver, because in the first building, it's not only the building one which you're going to do, you're also going to create the infrastructure for the entire park, right? So right from your STP lines, your fire lines, your stormwater drains, all of those have to run for the entire park. So you need to do the infrastructure for the entire park and then do the building one. So, that would take about 12 months time from the day you kind of get your approvals and everything.
In terms of size, what is the minimum and maximum size of your park in terms of square feet, in terms of acres?
Well, in terms of acres, we would look at a minimum of at least 25 acres of land, going as high as even 200 acres probably. But it is again subject to the location, subject to the road and all of that. So we would look at those parameters as well.
So is the business model like you are the complete asset owner, or are there any partnership modes wherein you partner with any financial institution or a manufacturing company or a big logistics company? How does it work?
So there are various models, Prasad. One is, as I told you, we partnered with GIC, which is one of our capital investors, with whom we have a joint venture platform of $750 million. Now, we generally prefer buying land, being the owners ourselves under the platform and develop it. But given the way India is, you may not be always able to buy, and we have various partners which we have. So, a few deals which we've done is, one is with the Lodha Group in Bombay, which is about a 100-acre joint venture with the Lodha Group. And we've done one more joint venture with the JMR Group in Hyderabad, which is a 66-acre project right in the airport. So we do various models, right from buying the lands outright, and developing it ourselves, and also doing joint ventures as well. However, we haven't done any joint ventures with a manufacturing company or so. However, we are not averse to it. We could evaluate it depending on the location and that.
And how do you manage all these assets? I believe you have an park management application.
Oh yes. So we have a in-house facility management team. And, to add to it, we are the first people, I would say, rather, in this particular domain to develop an app. So we have an ESR app, which is, any customer we sign up with is given the access to that app. So customers sitting anywhere in the world will be able to use the CCTV cameras, which we have across the parks, and they will be able to see the construction which is happening at their site if it's a British suit. There are contactless, entry and exit given the pandemic. So we've integrated that into the app as well. So, you could just plug in the details of who's going to come. That person is going to get a kind of a code. They just come in, scan that code, and they can directly get inside the park. Now, these parks are large, so we thought of, it's a 100-acre park. Now, let's say Ram Prasad comes in and he doesn't know which building you want to go to, right? So you could just go into the app. You're not even a customer, but you could still have the app, and there's something we've integrated called as a wayfinder, right? So it'll help you tell you which building you have to go to. The moment you enter the client name, it'll tell you which building you have to go to and how are you supposed to go. So it also helps the truck drivers who have these smartphones nowadays. They can also use it, and they would know exactly which building they have to go to, etc. So, quite a few features in the app which we've integrated. So there are amenities which a customer can book through the app. There's also, if there is a complaint, for example, there is something which a customer wants to put into the facility management team. So the customer could just take a photograph, put it on the app, and within 24 hours, our facility management team will ensure that, the complaint is looked at. So I think we're the first people to do that. So that's something which we're doing from the facility management point of view.
Can you name any marquee customers of yours?
Well, I would say in Chennai, very recently we signed Cubic. Cubic is a Danish company which makes electrical modules for renewable energy space. So very recently we built a state-of-the-art building. In my background, I'm sure you're able to see a nice building. That's the Cubic's building, and that's the first building we built in Chennai. So that's leased to them. So Cubic is one of our very recent customers.
ESR India is confined to India, or office has any plans for South Asia? Because I think the neighboring countries as well has a huge potential of logistic parks.
So we do have plans for the South Asian market. Very recently, we've entered the Sri Lankan market. Very soon, we'll be entering the various other South Asian markets as well. So very soon, you'll be hearing about a lot of other acquisitions in the other parts of South Asia.
Thank you very much, Ankur, for joining us today and sharing a lot of insights into the industrial parks and ESR plans in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you. Thanks a lot.